Heard anything about tariffs, and I'm going to assume you have. They nearly scuppered the U.S. economy. So if you've heard anything, you may have come across a particular idiom used to describe the types of negotiations they are said to be.
He's playing a game of chicken with no end.
It's really a game of chicken.
And it's a massive game of chicken.
But over in the UK, and I did use the word scuppered before, there is a different kind of chicken concern.
Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I like to discuss how Trump seems to be misjudging a few things about his tariffs plan. He is suggesting that we will need to accept chlorinated chicken for lower tariffs, seemingly unaware of the massive political and public opposition to this.
That gentleman was English, I can only assume, picking up on context clues. Britain is all aflutter over the prospect of having to eat American chicken, American chlorinated chicken. It is a demand of impending trade deals, supposedly, that the UK lowers its barriers, which some in the UK say means lowers their standards. The callers to the British network LBC had a bone to pick with the policy.
Okay, we go to a swimming pool, we drink chlorine sometimes once a week or once a month. But why is it called chlorinated chicken? It's because their standards are low. They got lots of germs on the chicken. They don't look after the chicken as well. And then they wash it with the chlorinated chicken to kill the germs.
That was Jay from Saffron Walden talking to host Nick Ferrari. You picked up on the anxiety there. It's not the eating of the chlorinated chicken that is so wrong. It is the question of why do they, meaning we, have to chlorinate it in the first place. There's another angle beyond the supposed first and second order health concerns, and that's nationalism, the purity of the nation. Here was the UK Labour Minister on LBC.
So would you be happy to see chlorinated chicken in the United Kingdom?
No, because the UK food standards are clear that they are not up for negotiation in any deal with other countries. And so chlorinated chicken, hormone-treated beef, both illegal in the UK.
James Murray there talking to, once more, Nick Ferrari, a man who really couldn't look less like a Nick Ferrari. What's going on in the UK is very much like what's going on over here, using all manner of appeal to sanctity, to purity, to patriotism, to pursue essentially what is a trade policy. That second reference that you heard the minister talking about, hormones in meat or beef, that's a credible concern. Scientists will tell you that. But including chicken in that danger is a really unfair conflation. And it's not just the chicken industry saying this, though it is the chicken industry saying this. I have been watching a lot of chicken industry videos narrated by a fellow put on this earth to narrate industrial films.
Like many of our favorite foods, we often don't think about all the hard work that takes place before it reaches our plate. The U.S. Poultry and Egg Association invites you to join us for a behind-the-scenes look at today's high-tech, highly efficient poultry processing plants.
I have to say, I was slightly impressed with the fact, in the middle of all these chicken videos, that they didn't totally skip over the part about killing a lot of chickens.
They pass by a sharp blade that severs arteries in the neck.
And then, after a cold plunge and gutting, sometimes the National Chicken Council estimates that chlorine is used in less than 5% of processing plants, but sometimes this happens.
Other strategies may include the use of food-grade antimicrobial rinses, which are recognized by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration as a safe and effective way to inhibit the growth of foodborne pathogens on raw product.
Ian Boyd, a professor of biology at the University of St. Andrews, told the New York Times, quote, "This is a classic example of how belief has overtaken evidence and become embedded in a complex socio-political discourse, which is almost certainly motivated by something very different from the actual issue." Yes, that is exactly what I was picking up the caller from Saffron Walden as saying. But the professor from St. Andrews went on to say, chlorine-washed chicken is almost certainly a proxy for much deeper issues concerning trust. So you might be thinking, oh yeah, they don't trust Donald Trump. No, that quote was taken from a New York Times article in 2021. The Biden administration then was forced to negotiate with the UK after Brexit. A fractious Britain united in hatred, not particularly scientifically sound hatred of U.S. chicken. It was apparently one of the few things bringing the country together. The same phenomenon is being seen now. You would not believe how big an issue this is in the UK. Their tabloids are going crazy with chicken stories, crying foul, beating their breasts, clucking their disapproval, running around like chickens with their heads cut off. The fact that there are a lot of chicken puns available does not hurt tabloid coverage. But perhaps the tabloids, like the chicken plants they criticize, are in fair abattoirs on this question. Maybe they are. I just wanted to give you a pun slightly elevated from British tabloid level. No page 3 girls here, though. The Europeans themselves have studied the issue, and the European Food Safety Authority could find no evidence that chlorinated chicken is unsafe. As far as the, but it doesn't cover up for the sins of the chicken creation process, well, that is a claim when you break it down, that the chicken chlorine wash is ineffective. But there's no evidence for that either. And plenty of U.S. chicken makers have, as noted, moved away from chlorine and towards peracetic acid, which probably doesn't have the cultural cachet of chlorine in that peracetic acid isn't used as a chemical weapon sometimes. Tabloids and gizzards aside, it seems as though UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is smart enough to avoid this issue overall. Chlorinated chicken won't be on the table in trade negotiations or in London. Sidestepping the chicken talk doesn't make him cowardly. It makes him smart. He'll insist on avoiding this issue, and the US will almost definitely accept a deal that allows for 95% of the chicken, the percent that isn't chlorinated, to go over to the UK. It's kind of an obvious solution. It might not fit in with the interest of tabloids or the anxieties of Englishmen, but unlike a chlorinated chicken, it is sure to take flight.